we were requested to analyze Mr. Speaker, Annex 4 in our report, which details all those pesticides which have been analyzed. The active ingredients have been analyzed as we were requested by the committee to do. The development of the highly hazardous pesticide, what we call HHPS strategy, is also ongoing in partnership with the East African community. This is not a one nation affair. We are also liaising with our East African community member states, so that because some of these pesticides are used across the East African community. And in the last 3 years, 79 pest control products have also been voluntarily withdrawn by litigants for various reasons. So various litigants or registrations have been, 79 of them have voluntarily withdrawn their for various reasons. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, which was raised, number 3, was on funding. It was noted that in order for PCPB to do a good job, it had to have adequate funding. And PCPB has been underfunded until the current financial year, when funding was enhanced, and we accepted that. The raw funding caused the delays in reviewing the active ingredients in the petition, review of the regulations in the Pest Control Products Bill. However, development and review of regulations require public participation and also conduct of regulatory impact assessment, which requires a lot of resources, as you agree with me. And the funding needs to be to enhance so that the PCPB can do its work. So from this year, we have seen increased funding for PCPB, and we are hoping that it will do a better job in terms of making sure it does what it was requested to do. The other issue which was raised is the annual publication of pest control products that have been withdrawn or banned. And I report, Mr. Speaker, sir, that PCB publishes normally a list of withdrawn active ingredients and decisions, a list of withdrawn active ingredients and decisions. It also publishes a list of banned products, a list of the registered products, and a list of restricted products on its website. And we have provided also in our report an Annex 5, which indicates some of these products which has been withdrawn or restricted. So, and the ones which has been banned, actually in Annex 5 is on banned products in Kenya. So you see, members, you see there are 45 of them which have been banned in Kenya, and they are listed there from the herbicides, insecticides, and other products. So I don't have to go through the whole list of the products which have been banned, but the list is provided as it was requested. Then number 5 was the amendment to the Pest Control Act. We were requested to do the amendment to the Pest Control Act. The cabinet memo, I can report that the cabinet memo on the Pest Control Products Bill is on the National Treasury, awaiting concurrence and thereafter submission to cabinet. So we have prepared the Pest Control Products Bill, and it is on way to cabinet for approval. The regulations anchored on the PCPB Act of 346 of 1982 were recently gazetted. So we had proceeded to actually do the regulations before the bill, even the bill comes into place. So that is our response, and we have taken action. The other issue was access to data. And PCB has been accessing technical information on the data package supporting the safety of human health and environment. This data includes the chemistry, toxicology, effects on the environment and beneficial organisms, efficacy and residue studies, fate and behavior in the environment. This has been further elaborated in the new registration and regulations gazetted on 6 August 2024 under the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 155 and legal notice number 130. The proposal for the proposed PCPB bill provides for evaluation of PCP for safety of human health and environmental prior to registration. So also action has been taken, as you have seen, with the regulations in place. Labeling. One of the issues we are requested to do is also to do labeling, and the pest control products, labeling, advertising, and packaging regulations were also gazetted in June 2024. The regulations require that all pest control products must have a label with adequate information. One of the issues which were raised in some of the cases in US and other jurisdictions was that the pesticides were not well labeled so that the users can be able to know whether there are any hazards and any risk or any dangers they pose. So we have gazetted the regulations to make sure that all the labels, all the pesticides are well labeled and the necessary information is given. The label should have signal words, precautionary pictograms, hazard symbols, and be compliant with the global harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals. All commercial labels must be both in English and Kiswahili for ease of interpretation. The banning of products. We are requested to look at what is available in Kenya and make sure that we have products which are harmful to humans and other creatures to be banned. But PCBB undertakes, we can report that undertakes evidence and science-based decision when evaluating application on registration. And 45 active ingredients associated end-use products have been banned based on the decision of the international conventions like Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention. The banned active ingredients are not allowed in the country, and the list of banned products is publicly available at PCB websites. The ministry has given regular update on the parliamentary committees on the progress, e.g. recently, the Committee of Implementation Status of House resolutions on 19 September 2024, and Agriculture and Livestock Committee on September 2024. So there has been continuous engagement with this House and the committees on these banned products, and we have been discussing with the help of the PCPB, giving us the technical input. We are also requested to enhance our laboratory and analytical capacity. And what I can report is that the construction of our laboratory block is at 95% completion and a total cost of 328 million. Completion of the laboratory has been slow due to inadequate funding, inadequate analytical capacity, equipment, and staffing has also been one of some of the issues. The ministry in the process of equipping the laboratory and engaging the technical staff. So we have also enhanced our capacity by ensuring that we have a laboratory which can be able to analyze these agrochemicals. Then there was the issue of epidemiological studies to be done. Pesticide use, I can report, was also conducted in Nakuru and Nyandarua counties in 2022. The survey showed that there is need to corroborate trained farmers on the use of pesticides. A pesticide residue study was also carried out during the same year. 63 samples of kales, that is sukuma wiki, tomatoes, onions were sampled at farm gate level and major markets in Nakuru, Nyandarua, and Kajiado countries. One kale sample exceeded Codex minimum residue, showing 98.4 compliance. A recent residue study on kales, tomatoes, and onions showed high level of compliance to Codex minimum residue levels. The result from these surveys has informed decision on regulatory action and pertaining to pesticide labeling and training and awareness creation. So we have been constantly undertaking field studies to ensure that we are informed about if there is any minimum levels being exceeded and any epidemiological issues which have been coming up. Then there was the issue of enhancing and promoting training and public awareness of these pesticides. And the statutory organization, PCPB.
Minister, you've taken 20 minutes on one question.
Yes.
Not acceptable.
Sorry, sir. It's because the issues.
Answers must be precise and concise.
Okay.
And related to the questions as asked. Yes. Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, Mr. Cabinet Secretary, I have no doubt in my mind that response was written for you by the Pest Control Products Board. Yes. So that's exactly what they've been telling me since 2022. So that is not an answer. You cannot say that you want to analyze the pesticide and check for the ingredients. You don't need to do that. World science has already confirmed in peer-reviewed medical journals that it is harmful and causes cancer. End of story. So all you need to undertake is a literature review on the table, just using the books and the other publications that have been made, including the court judgments that have already been given and awarded people, and even the decisions by those countries to not sell them at all or use them in their own countries. That information is available to you. You also know very well that for all our exports, any flowers or vegetables that leave Kenya, if you don't use organic pyrethrum-based pesticides, it is returned back. The moment they reach the airport overseas, they are tested for minimum residue limits and they are sent back into Kenya. And the moment they get to our airport, what the people at the airport do is it makes its way to the local market. You also know very well that the over 22 scientists from various universities in Kenya did that desk review and came up with something called the pesticide atlas. So that story of saying we are analyzing, we need more money, we need a laboratory, it is not necessary at all. What you need to do is save lives of Kenyans first. And you save our lives first by and you don't need a new regulation. You simply go, the Pest Products Control Board, go to their list of approved pesticides, remove those ones that we know to be harmful now, stop the harm, and then later you can do your analysis. But you can't be doing your analysis as Kenyans are dying. You know very well, Kirinyaga County has the highest prevalence of cancer, but it also has the highest prevalence of use of those pesticides. So that's the answers are not adequate. I think you'll have to come back another day.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I agree that what we need to do is, and I'm informed that this is a very technical area, and you must agree with me. What we rely on is scientific evidence, and PCB, yes, it is correct, you are on that this material has come mainly from PCBB.
Minister, and you are an agricultural scientist.
Yes, but from another branch, the economic side. It is not from the technical side.
Because I'm hearing you saying you are testing sukuma wiki in Nyandarua, I don't know you are testing. When you are being told by the Deputy Speaker, and she has been on this for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
There is a resolution of this House that these harmful pesticides banned for use in the countries that manufacture them are being sold in our market to harm our people and destroy our economy, because when there is a trace of such material in our products, they cannot enter the EU market. They cannot enter the Japanese market. They cannot enter the American market where they manufacture this and send to us. So can you tell the Parliament and the country what you want to do? If you are not ready, we'll give you time to go and bring a more comprehensive response.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The evidence we have and the independent research review of literature, which has been done by the agents which has been tasked to do that in this country, the PCPB, has independently gone around, and for instance, particularly for the grace of it, Roundup, which is particularly mentioned. The herbicides have not been found to have any carcinogenic effect. There is no scientific evidence. That is the position.
Yes, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the minister seems not to have understood. He's the one who said that the laboratory is 95 complete, meaning there's no actual lab that does the test. He just needs to admit that we are not prepared as a country to test for the pesticide. Our pesticide control may be there, but we are not capable of doing the test. And therefore, he's not ready. Because in the Committee of Implementation, we have been asking these questions. And always, it was postponed because the minister is not in the house. He doesn't come. I think, and I request, let him go and look for a comprehensive answer. Even that lab, which is saying 95% complete construction work, There are many other things that is required in the lab, including human resource. They don't have. So why is he economical with the truth? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kumwelezea waziri afahamu kuwa kina mama wengi wanapoteza maisha yao. Na hata hapa mbeleni kidogo tulikuwa tunaongea na Mheshimiwa Amelia Adhiambo, kuna mtoto wa dadake ambaye ni lawyer, ukimwona Mheshimiwa Spika huwezi kuamini. Anapoteza maini kwa kansa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kumwambia waziri, kama huna majibu, chukua huyu Mheshimiwa Deputy Speaker, amefanya research ya kutosha aweze kukusaidia. Hatuwezi kukubali Wakenya wanakufa na sisi tunataka kuinua uchumi kwa sababu ya mtu mmoja ataka kupata faida na pesticide. Hii ni hatari, itolewe. Kenya kuna vitu vingine ambavyo tuweza kutumia kwa ukulima tukatoa mazao mazuri. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo waziri, mimi nakuomba kwa heshima na taadhima, mimi ni mama, siko tayari kufa kwa kansa. Kwa heshima mfuate mheshimiwa aweze kukupa ile ambayo ametoa ya haki, na uweze kufuata, tutoe hichi kitu katika market yetu. Asante sana.
Obo.
Bwana Spika, mimi niko na shida ingine katika haya mambo waziri anazungumzia, hii ya dawa za wadudu zinapuliziwa kwenye mimea. Bwana Spika, kuna tatizo lingine afaa pia aliangalie. Tatizo lilioko kule kwangu Lamu Mashariki, wakulima wangu hawatumii aina yoyote ya madawa. Sisi ni wakulima wa simsim, lakini shida imetokea, wale wakulima jirani wanatumia madawa kupuliza, ile bidhaa zao zimepelekwa, simsim yao imepelekwa nje, imerudishwa. Sasa soko limeharibiwa za wakulima wote wa simsim. Hivi ninavyokuambia, simsim imejazana Lamu East, Lamu Mashariki. Ana mipango gani ya kuwasaidia hawa wakulima kuhakikisha hizi simsim zimeuzwa? Manake wao tuko tayari zipimwe. Zetu Lamu Mashariki hatutumii hizi pesticide. Kwa hivyo atusaidie, ajue hata kama vile mnavyofanya kwenye maziwa, saa ingine maziwa ikizidi serikali inanunua, basi mnunue zile simsim, wakulima wetu wapate kufaidika. Asante.
Chairman of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand on the view that the minister needs to be better prepared with reasons. Number one, Honorable Speaker, we are talking about a very sensitive issue. It is sensitive in the sense that it is science, and let's not joke around, Honorable Speaker. There's a problem here. The problem being that any rejection of any product from any country must be explained. And they talk about maximum residual levels of the chemicals or the pests themselves or pesticides in that particular product. There's an international body called Codex Alimentarius, which sets the standards. Kenya's products sometimes were rejected in the European market. As a result of the European supermarkets coming up with a Europe gap, which was a standard. Kenya developed Kenyan gap, which was a higher standard than their market standard. And all our products were getting into Europe. So now, let's not mix issues. Number one, we need scientific evidence. And scientific evidence must be from refereed journals, not gray literature. Honorable Speaker, I stand here as a person who knows what I'm talking about. Gray literature isn't studied out by somebody and purporting to have referred to other literature. When you follow it up, you find that it doesn't end up. Again, that particular study was denounced by the international bodies. So the minister needs to be thoroughly prepared before we make a very serious decision which can be counterproductive to the country. And why am I saying this? We followed this issue on our Speaker, and as a committee, we engaged the PCPB on a retreat. And we told them, we don't have Morocco. I'm wondering why Honorable Morocco is not in today. We told them, please tell us. We had mentions of names, the references. We followed up the references. Some of them were struck off the record of the respected writers in that particular field, based on what they said, which was denounced by another body. So now, Speaker, let us really be there as a country, because we might be banning our own. In Europe, I was in Europe last month. We were in Denmark. They are using Roundup. They are selling across the world. I was with the minister there, and we had presentations. I'm not talking for the ministry. I'm not talking for I'm talking for the country Kenya, because besides anything, we need to do international trade. And if we have to do international trade, we must do trade under the WTO trading systems and the regulations that have been set for anything that is eaten, Codex Alimentarius standards. So that, Honorable Speaker, let the minister come up with the details. Let anybody else who has any evidence bring the evidence. Let the evidence be cross-checked so that, Honorable Speaker, we quote something that is quotable. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Melemba.
Honorable Speaker, I think now, following the speak from the chairman of agriculture, and what the minister spoke to almost in his last sentence, you will notice that this debate is bigger. This question is not ordinary. Because when the minister was finalizing, he almost spoke to the fact that he has done some research and the so-called pesticides may not be harmful. You have heard what the chair agriculture said. You heard what the questionnaire did speak to. The minister is not saying everything plainly. In his office, there's a report which has given even that roundup, a clean bill of health. He should speak on that. And that's why I think the chairman is quite specific that this is a scientific thing that will need real scientific proof. So he needs to be more prepared, because equally the questionnaire is having evidence. And when you hear her speak, she's exact. She's having references. So this is a matter that Honorable Speaker needs more so that we can clear with that roundup. And the minister was avoiding to touch the word roundup all along until now it has emerged from other quarters. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Sendikiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come from an agricultural constituency where we grow large-scale flowers and horticultural product for export. Mr. Speaker, Meru, Kirinyaga are among the highest counties with a high level of cancers. Mr. Speaker, when I heard the minister speak, he spoke of carrying out some research somewhere in Nyahururu, but in the deep areas where the cancer is more prevalent, he hasn't even touched it, Mr. Speaker. So there's a deficiency in his answer, because where the current of the research is not where the cases harmful effect on human and animals is. So my request is that the minister carries out more research in the most deep agricultural zones, particularly Meru County, and specifically in Mori constituency, Mr. Speaker, where we have a high level of women miscarriage, the ones around the farms, within the farm workers. We grow potatoes, we grow cabbages, we grow almost all export products. And some of these products, Mr. Speaker, are some of the ones that are being returned. So really, this is not an issue that need to be just be given, because laymen like us are really understanding the problem. But the people who are supposed to be giving a solution, they are not. This pest control board, I think, is where the problem is. And I think something needs to be done. There's a human deficiency in that institution that are not telling Kenyans the truth. If a lawyer is able to disseminate the information from our own research, and a scientist at the pest control board is not able to explain, then this country is in danger. We're in danger. And I'm saying this, Mr. Speaker, because my constituency has been taken as a research, as a center of focus by National AIDS Control Council, by the Ministry of Health, everybody, but the Minister of Agriculture is silent. There are information that makes them know where they need to focus and get the answer to our problem. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I also support that there's a need for the CS to bring all the evidence in terms of research. And the honorable member who has asked the question to also bring whatever she may also have, so that if there is any contradiction, I think this House, with your guidance, will be able to go to the next step as to establish the correct position so that we can be able to handle this issue. If these pesticides are the ones that are causing cancer to our people, then we can be able to know how to address it. But we cannot come to a conclusion as to that aspect until that research is well concluded, so that even my people, the people of Geshogwa I represent, we also do a lot of coffee, we use a lot of pesticides and many other crops. And there's a prevalence of cancer, and there's a belief that these pesticides are the causes of cancer. But I don't want to make a conclusion because I'm not a scientist. Let it come from the scientists so that we can be able to handle the matter in the best way possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Owen.
Honorable Speaker,
You've turned this question into a debate.
Honorable Speaker, looking at, I know the Honorable Gladys Shirley has been on this for many years, and I've been in this house hearing her all the time, and we don't seem to get headway. I also know that this house can use experts, including our local universities and professors and all that. Now, if we are not actually, because the minister is saying something else, Gladys is saying something else, other people will say something else, this is scientific corpus that may have different lineages and leanings, and people have their own, even industry players will influence the debate and all that. Why don't we, as Parliament, ask scientists to come up with a small conference to inform Parliament so that we make a decision? Because the minister will rely on scientists in his office. I don't think he's a scientist in that area. We rely on scientists in his office that will give information that he may not possibly have his own personal conclusions on it. So, Honorable Speaker, I think that we stop belaboring this, but we look for a solution for the country by asking professors and others to come up with paper, and we listen to them so that we make a decision, not just on the perspective of what the minister says, but Parliament makes a decision and instructs the ministry on what to do. Otherwise, it will be back and forth all the time.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Just allow me to just make some things clear. One is I'm saying that in the United States of America, the Superior Court of California awarded farmers $250 million apiece against Monsanto, which was manufacturing Roundup. And it was after that that it was completely banned. Monsanto is a huge company. They had armies of scientists, but they weren't able to win the case. And that case was applied to the entire Europe and the whole of North America and the whole of the United States. How foolish as we as Kenyans to think that we can get better scientists than those ones who have done it in those countries. And furthermore, they said it had the highest number of scientists evaluating it in the history of a damages case in the United States. And I sent it to your office. You have that court case. Today, I'm also mobilizing. I'm going to do a class action in this country, and it will be against the Ministry of Agriculture and against the Pest Products Control Board, because it is their responsibility to protect us. If it is safe, why is it not being sold in Europe and America? And if it is safe, why is it that when our farmers use those products and send them abroad, when they are tested, they are sent, the entire container is returned back? I have visited many of the companies, 6 companies in Nakuru and 2 in Kenya, in Nairobi. They are the ones who produce the pyrethrum-based pesticides. And when I ask them, who buys from you? Because I know the ordinary farmer doesn't. They say any farmer who is exporting normally buys from them. Because you go to farmers, they'll tell you, this is for export, so I use pyrethrum-based. This is for the local market, nobody checks. And this, again, the pesticide atlas was done by over 22 professors from Kenya. That has been done. It has been peer reviewed abroad. Even if you build your lab until when, you will not have that. And when you tell us that you're doing labeling, tell me how many farmers can read what sulfate something 0.2 means. They can't understand those labels. So what you do, just remove it from the market. And we have over 6,000 types of pesticides that are sold here. If we remove 267 that I have isolated as being harmful, we'll still be able to have pesticides in the country. So why you removed out of the 267, they have removed 7, but they are going too slowly. We'll have too many deaths by the time you get to that. So this information is out there. You don't need to do your own evaluation. The world has done it. The entire Europe has done it. The entire America has done it. There is no way you're going to build a lab and be able to do it here in Kenya. That's a lie.
Minister, to make progress, Dr. Mutunga, you've made your pitch and you are the chairman of the committee. So I don't want you to appear also to be holding brief for the minister who is present. Minister will step down this question and I'll direct you to be here on Wednesday next week afternoon before we break to deal specifically with this question. Owen Bayer, communicate with your boss to ensure that the minister comes to answer this question. As patriotic Kenyans and as a country whose economy is rooted on agriculture, employing 70% plus of our workforce, it should concern you, members, that we do the right things. If our products go to Europe, we now have duty-free, quota-free access. But then they hit non-tariff barriers in terms of scientific checks and comeback. Then we lose as a country, and it harms our economy. Those like the member for Gishugu, whose base of economy is horticulture, they'll suffer, and everybody else. So, Minister, you have a duty to ensure that Kenya benefits from scientific development, both internally and externally. What is developed in America or Europe is universal. We don't want to hear members crying about prevalence of cancer cases. And one can ask, why do we have serious prevalence of cancer cases in areas where these chemicals are in use, lesser than in pastoralist areas, and so on and so forth? So go and prepare, come back on Wednesday on this particular question. So we'll go to the other questions so that you can be able to satisfy, not only, you are not addressing Parliament, you are addressing the country.
Yes. We are well guided, Mr. Speaker, sir.
We go to now the first question by private notice by Geoffrey Ruku. Question 015 of 2024 by Geoffrey Ruku. Question dropped. Question by Joyce Kamene. I have a letter authorizing Honorable Kiamba to ask the question on her behalf. Kiamba, go ahead. Question 027 of 2024.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to ask this question on behalf of Honorable Joyce Kamene of Machakos County. Question to the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the long-term sustainable measures the ministry is putting in place to lower the cost of agricultural inputs other than the provision of subsidized fertilizer, considering the rising food prices in the country and on account of inflation? 2, state the programs and the policies the ministry has implemented to reduce importation of food to the country and ensure food self-sufficiency. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. On the first question, the sustainable measures the ministry is putting in place to lower the cost of inputs. First of all, we note that, yes, the question indicated the prices, the food prices were rising, but this has, from from recent figures, we note that the prices of most foodstuff have come down, and also inflation has come down. But what we are doing to make sure that this cost of production and sustainable measures are put in place, one of them is we are promoting local fertilizer production, and we are hoping that by doing so, the cost of fertilizer will further come down. We are also doing blended fertilizer production. We have factories which have come up in Nakuru, in Eldoret, so that they start blending fertilizers. Fertilizers which are blended are better than the original, the other fertilizers, because they allow farmers to use specific fertilizers. We have also, Mr. Speaker, sir, developed high-yielding seed varieties, focusing on drought-resistant crops, pest-resistant, and which are suitable for different regions in the country. And also, we are promoting climate-smart agriculture practices through the use of climate techniques to mitigate climate-related risks. And we are also put in place subsidies on input credit programs, such as Smart Input Subsidy Program, using e-vouchers to target smallholder farmers, input credit facilities tailored towards farmers, such as the Agriculture Finance Corporation, Commodity Fund, the new KPCU, among others. We are also promoting soil health and sustainable farming practices. And on the second question, the programs and policies the ministry is using to reduce importation of food in the country and ensure self-sufficiency. One, I would say that, Mr. Speaker, sir, the major imports we have been doing in this country, food items, we are also concerned, and part of the bill which we have, actually we are importing foodstuff worth about $4 billion, that is about 500 billion. And the main imports are mainly edible oils, mafuta ya kupikia, wheat, rice, and of late, sugar was also in the list, but of late, sugar has come out of the list. So for edible oils, we have distributed 556 metric tons of sunflower, which we have distributed to farmers all over the country for 200,000 acres in 2024, in order to produce about estimated 40,000 metric tons of edible oil. This project is aimed to cut input costs by 50% in 5 years. Other edible oils covered by the project include canola, simsim, and palm oil. So this is an edible oils promotion project, which is to cut our import of edible oils. Wheat is the other major import which we have been having. We have been promoting or working with CARO to promote production of quality seed planting materials and varieties. However, what we have in the country is to ensure that whatever is produced in the country by our farmers is mopped up before any miller can import any wheat. So there is a wheat purchase program which ensures that we purchase all the wheat from the country before any importer is given a license to import any wheat. We have also embarked on what we are calling Land Commercialization Initiative. This is an initiative where we are teaming up with the private sector to encourage them to come and lease land from government institutions like ADC, Agriculture Development Corporation, ADC. And we are giving leases from 10 to 35 years. And some of them have come up with the leases which they are able to grow some of these crops like canola, simsim, and also sunflower. So this will help us also improve our local production. On livestock, because livestock is also an important area, like milk, we are importing also a big chunk of especially value-added products like cheese. What we are doing in the country, for instance, is to ensure that we give farmers incentive to produce more milk. And we are going to provide milk coolers to dairy farmers. And currently we are in the process of procuring some milk coolers to reduce post-harvest loss in milk and the milk collected, improvement and processed. The first phase, or the second, we had already distributed about 350 coolers between 2018 and 2022. Currently, we are procuring 230 coolers, which will be distributed early in January 2025, January to February 2025. This is to ensure that our farmers get the kuras and make sure that they preserve the milk. There is no loss. There is improved production for the improved production. We are also intervening in the livestock sector by making sure that we have a livestock vaccination program. The national livestock vaccination programs are mainly aimed at maybe transboundary diseases like foot and mouth, and the one for the small ruminants. And we are making sure that we vaccinate all our animals. In the past, counties have tried to vaccinate the animals, but this has not been effective because one county vaccinates, the other one doesn't vaccinate. That doesn't solve the disease issue. There has been an issue about this particular intervention, but what I can inform this House, Mr. Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, is that we are using local vaccine manufactured by our local institution called Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Institute, KVVAPI. So we are not importing any vaccine to use for vaccination. The vaccination is using local vaccine. And I would like to invite members of this House who are interested, even we can facilitate you to go to KVVAPI to see how this vaccine is being made. So it is not something which is coming from outside. It is not something controversial. We have been using KVVAPI to even export our vaccine. We are also, for the families which lost some livestock during the last drought, we are also doing a livestock restocking program to make sure that they get their livestock back, goats, mainly goats, targeting about 10,200 and 8,000 in 16 counties. We are also using duty waiver for importation of raw materials of processing animal feeds. We know that animal feeds is one of the greatest costs in this country. So we are deliberately allowing manufacturers and manufacturers of animal feeds some duty waivers for some of the particular ingredients like enzymes, amino acids, and protein concentrates, so that they can lower the cost of overall animal feeds in the country. So those are the measures, some of the key measures we are taking to make sure that we are lowering the cost of making sure that the import bill is down, and also we are lowering the cost of agriculture and those who are in it. Thank you.
Honorable Member Fukwanza.
I think it's much more than what the minister is saying. First and foremost, I want you to tell us what programs you have, because you see, you can do, for example, importation of the milk coolers. I have gone round and I've noticed that the milk coolers are there, but the people who are using them don't know how to use them. So what programs, what technical programs are you implementing? Are you forwarding to the farmers so that they can have, because of course importation of milk and exportation of milk is very important. I want to just inform the minister that I had a time to go to Middle East sometimes back. And Chair, Madam Speaker, you would go to the have breakfast and get milk from this country. Today you go to Middle East, you can't get milk, you get milk from Uganda. So what are you doing about it? Because we want to increase the exportation of milk, but the program is not clear. You now want to bring in the milk coolers. What programs you have, technical programs you have to make sure they succeed? Because I understand you have almost 300 and something coming in. I'm not sure what programs you have, so can be able to work on that.
Done. The member who asked on behalf of Honorable Joyce Kamene, do you want to get a clarification?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was only requesting the Cabinet Minister, because I asked on behalf of the member whether we could have a written copy of the response. So thank you.
I think normally it's practice that they provide the written copy. So I think you can get it from the clerk's desk. The Honorable Member. Yeah, Honorable Guyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, if I listen to the question, it was referring to outside the provision of the fertilizer. In other words, I come from a region that supplies meat supply to Nairobi and most parts of Kenya through the livestock. I wanted to know from the minister, for the livestock farmers, especially the ones from the northern Kenya, who are facing imminent drought, what the minister and how many of our animals may die because of the drought. So the minister should have actually, instead of zeroing so much on agricultural issues, he should have given us a bit of history on livestock. What are their ministry, actually, what is the ministry budget that looks after the pastoral communities in northern Kenya? Thank you.
I'll allow you to answer that. Or maybe I can take one more question. I'll take one more question, Honorable Rueda, and then I'll come to you.
Bi Spika, mwanzo swali langu niliuliza halikujibiwa, limepotea na ile kaambiwa aende arudi, lakini hili langu anaweza jibu ni mambo ya simsim. Ni labda niregelee tena, kwa sababu ni muhimu. Watu wangu walikuja kwangu wakaniambia wako na shida sahihi. Kuna wakulima wa simsim kule Lamu Mashariki, kwa sababu ya jirani zetu wanatumia hizi madawa, bidhaa zao ziliregeshwa. Sasa imefanya wale wetu pia wamepoteza soko. Simsim iko nyingi kule na haina soko. Je, mna mipangilio gani kusaidia hao wakulima wa Lamu Mashariki? Nao ni wa Kenya. Maana yake katika hii Ministry of Agriculture inafanywa huku kwingine, Lamu Mashariki ni kama hakuna wakulima, na tuna wakulima kule. Kuna cashew nut sisi tunatoa nyingi zaidi Kenya. Hata Kilifi wanasema wana cashew nut, lakini miti yao ni mizee. Yetu ukiangalia kwa hesabu ndio inatoka nyingi zaidi. Lakini Lamu Mashariki, na hakika kwa hii ministry hakuna chochote imefanywa. Au aniambie kitu gani imefanya Lamu Mashariki? Asante.
Because that was a follow-up question, Waziri, if you want to defer it to the answer to the next time you're here, yes. Or are you able to answer it on your feet? You may go ahead to answer all three of them.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will start with the question on what we are doing to complement the distribution of kuras. I would say that, first of all, this time loud, we don't want to make the mistakes we made the last time. The last time we issued the kuras, and some of them are not being utilized because they were not positioned in the right places. So this time we have done, we have gone out in the field, mapped the areas where the farmers need the kuras, and we have assessed whether they have the necessary infrastructure. For instance, power, whether they need the housing, all that is being done. Two, we want also to complement that, and we are working with the county governments. We want to complement that by making sure that those farmers, especially those who are organized in cooperatives, they have access to technical information, including how they get their semen, how they get their feeds, how they get all those other services. So this time loud, we are more, particularly for the honorable member, we are a bit more cautious, we are a bit more organized. We don't want to give just a kura. We are giving a service, and that service have to come with all the complementary services. The other one is the issue about livestock, what we are doing about livestock. Yes, I agree 100%. Livestock is one of the critical areas, one of the biggest potential. We are, the northeastern and the rains are being said to be coming to on shortage of rains. So one of the areas which you have said is that we will work with the northeastern. We have a budget for feedlots where we will be able to promote and work with the communities to have feedlots and put also pastures for storage for our livestock. We are also, I also mentioned restocking for the families which lost their animals during the last drought. About 10,000 of them, you get the restocking, and also the vaccination campaigns. So we have not forgotten livestock. We have programs for them, and mainly to make sure that they are being more resilient and adapting to the climate change issues. On the simsim, sijasahau mambo ya simsim. Ni kusema ya kwamba hiyo imekuja kwa, it has come on the floor, and what we are going to do is contact, because this is a shared responsibility. We are also going to contact work with the Ramu County government to see how we can help the simsim farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dikini.
Thank you. I really want to congratulate the minister, because I think he has come out in trying to answer what the government is doing to enhance the performance of agriculture, going to the program of better transformation of our economy. Madam Speaker, he has spoken quite a lot on canola. And my constituency is the largest producer of canola in Meru County, and I think in the country. It's among the top. But I've never felt the effect of the ministry in terms of that crop. I want to urge the minister that we need to feel the presence of the ministry on that product, because it's expanding. We're encouraging farmers, even large scale, small scale farmers, to enhance the productivity. Number two, Mr. Speaker, he has spoken about so many packages of product, but he hasn't spoken on delivery, agricultural extension personnel, because there is a total deficiency. If we leave this to the counties, they have no capacity. Yes, there's a lot of the ministry doing, but to get this product and get this information training to the farmers, we lack agricultural extension officers. They are going to do double work in terms of crop and in terms of livestock. Mr. Speaker, I know what I expected him to talk more is what the government is doing in terms of the feeding programs. Livestock, even on the dairy sector. Right now, there are so many types of grass that is drought resistance. It's quite in plenty, but the ministry.
Now you just ask a question.
Yeah,
Now
could
you're
they?
making a statement.
Yes, could they, the ministry, please look at the element of seeds and the seedlings for either crops and even for the grass for the feed, animal feed. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the quality of animals, the dissemination of information at sex semen, and knowing what type of daily cattle that we require in different parts of the country, because you can't have the same across the country. There are some regions where Frisians does better, where Just does better. So we need that kind of guidance to the farmers of this country. Thank you.
I'll allow the minister to answer that, so it can be able to move to the next question. Honorable Gashimu, what is the point of information? You have a question coming up soon.
To seek a clarification connected to the livestock and the coolers, because coolers are supposed to store milk which has already been produced, and agriculture is supposed to support production. But once the milk has already been produced, and these coolers are supposed to support groups that are together, because it's not individual. I think this ought to have come through cooperatives that produce milk. And I think that is an area that, because you cannot give a livestock farmer a cooler because you have livestock, but it has to be a grouping, and that's an area that they need to look at.
That's what actually the minister said. Yes, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, on the same issue of coolers, I have heard the CS Agriculture telling us that there are those people who have been sent in the field to gather information on the right places where to place these coolers. And Centriment, my constituency, is one of the places where much milk is produced, and a lot is going at waste because of lack of coolers. And I have not heard, even last weekend on Saturday, and even yesterday, happened to have been especially in the much producing growing area of the milk. And I did not hear from them. They were even sending me to come and ask, if possible, the president, because he had promised them.
Just
during the
frame it in a question that the minister
Yes,
can be
can,
able to
can the
answer.
minister come
Just
up? Can,
ask the question.
can the minister come up and tell us the procedure which he is using to gather that information? Because we are people's representative and we have not been consulted, and even our people down there on the ground have not, they have not received
You've asked the
any
question.
of those
What
issues.
is the
Second
procedure
question,
they are
the last
using
one,
to
the last one,
allocate?
Madam Speaker. What is the minister doing as a Kenya Kwanza policy to make sure that this bottom-up economy of assisting the farmers to make much production and preservation is being to be sustained, especially in areas where we as Kenya Kwanza MPs and the president give promises of giving coolers, milk coolers? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Honorable Rueda?
Bi Speaker, niko kwa hoja ya nidhamu. Je, ni haki waziri kusema ataenda kuuliza county government? Na tuna hakika wafugaji wa simsim kwetu Lamu Mashariki hajawahi saidiwa na chochote na serikali hii, wanajitegemea wenyewe. Na sehemu zingine maziwa, majani, kahawa, mugokaa, wote wanapata fedha kutoka kwa serikali ya national government. Nilikuwa natarajia aniambie mikakati, na kama hana sahihi aniambie, nitarudi hiyo Wednesday, akirudi anielezea na mikakati gani, lakini kunifanya mimi niambiwe county government. Mimi si senator, mimi si MCA, kama nitaenda huko tena nikaulize governor.
Okay, Honorable Rueda, I think he has heard you, and you also can take his contacts, and then he can brief you after he has. I mean, you can direct him at the places to go and speak. I think, honorable members, let us proceed with the minister to speak, and then we can go to the next question.
Yeah, thank you, Madam.
You'll have a chance for follow-up questions from the next questions.
Yeah, thank you, Madam. Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll start with the last one. I think we will be able to respond more comprehensively next when we come here. And we also, I'll give you my contact. We can also liaise with you so that we get to the details. Because I don't want to be seen as if I'm biased against the simsim. It's a crop like any other crop we have to handle. Well, in terms of kuras, if I can start there, identification, why we identifying the locations based on the needs which we have received. And also, as it has been said, His Excellency the President has also been able to promise some of the areas, some kuras. So we are taking that into account. And we are also working with cooperatives. We are not giving individuals. We cannot give a kura to an individual. We are giving mainly to cooperatives and other associations which involve a group of farmers. So that is very clear. And then the issue about what we are doing in terms of production of the milk and the quality of the animals, yes, we are also, the government is also gearing up in terms of making sure that we have good genetic materials, sex semen being one of them, and being distributed across the country. We are even investing a lot more in our the center which produces the semen in Kabete. And we are also having plans to make sure that the semen, some of the semen is distributed across these cooperatives, which we are working with. The same with the seeds and seedlings. I would like to assure members that we have worked across the CROC to make sure that this country have enough seeds and seedlings. The Kenya Seed and other seed producing companies have worked very hard, and we are sure that come next season, we will be having enough seed in this country. We are also working to eradicate the menace for fake seeds so that farmers don't get fake seeds. Then the issue about extension. We know this agriculture mostly in terms of extension is a devolved function. We are in constant, we even have, last month we had a meeting with the county governments in Mombasa, about 20 governors came. One of the issues we are discussing is about how to revive extension and how the national government can work with the counties to build their capacity in order to revive the extension. And one of the areas we agreed upon is, and what the national government is doing, is what we are calling the agripreneur model, where we are recruiting some young people who we are taking to the counties. Already 2,800 of them have been recruited and sent to the counties. We want to, at the end, to have about 18,000 of them, which you'll be supporting. We're working together with the counties so that we strengthen our extension, because it has gone down, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that the extension is up and running. Canola is the one crop which we think has a lot of potential. And as we have said, there is an oil crop program which we are working on, including sunflower and canola. And this time loud, I can assure the member, we are going to see more in terms of the government coming in terms of canola. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can move to the next question. I think the question by Honorable Geoffrey Ruku is dropped, but in any case, I already asked it, and the minister is going to report it next week because it's about to round up.
Yes.
So I think when they come, he's going to answer it because that was part of the question. So now we move to the question by the member for Chebalungu, Honorable Victor Koech. He's absent, so we'll drop that. And then there is now next is question number 103 of 2024 by the member for Gishugu, Honorable Robert Kishimu. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And as I ask my questions, at least the CS has considered that actually these are matters of cooperatives. And because he's a professional and he came in when this program had already started, I think he has considered that it is misplaced because there's a department of cooperatives under the Ministry of MSMEs and cooperatives in this country, but that is a matter that can be sorted outside this parliament. Now, let me go to my questions. Question number 103 of 2024. Number one, confirm that the prices of macadamia nuts purchased from farmers in recent years has sharply declined from over 200 per kilogram to below 50 Kenya shillings per kilogram. Number two, explain why there has been such sharp decline in macadamia nut prices and that outline measures aimed at boosting these prices, considering that the vital role they play as a source of income for many farmers. Number three, Honorable Speaker, elucidate on why the regulations in respect of macadamia nuts prices mandated by Section 40 of the Crops Act, Cap 318, is yet to be formulated, and when they are expected to be formulated and implemented to protect farmers from unscrupulous dealers. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Madam Speaker. Confirming that the price of macadamia declined from 200 shillings to 50, I would like to confirm that was the case, because that happened between when we had 2022 and 2023, because the sales most of the companies could not sell because of the COVID and blockage. So actually some areas, the price went up to 30 shillings. So that is confirmed, that is not denied. Then the issue about the sharp decline in macadamia and how we are boosting the prices is to note that since then, the price of macadamia has actually risen because the outlets, the demand has risen again. And last year, end of last year, the farmers were fetching around 80 shillings. And currently, some of them are going up to 120 shillings. So there has been a revival because of, first of all, the government came in and ensured that the demand is improved by actually allowing the nut in shell exports, which we did. That improved, made sure there is competition in the market, and the prices had improved. And we also note that 95% of our macadamia is exported, and largely mainly, so the prices which we get also depend on what is happening in the global market. And what happened during that time when there was a decline, there was also attributed to the global turmoil in some of the markets where we sell our macadamia, like in US, EU, and China. But since then, as I have indicated, the prices have gone up. One of the consequences is that our manufacturers, local processors, which are a big number, actually almost about 35 or 38, which they could not even get the macadamia to process in the country because of the glut which was there. And China has emerged as one of the macadamia producers, and this is causing also a glut in the market. So the prices, the dynamics about the prices in Kenya are mainly global and also local, whether we are exporting a nut in shell, whether the local companies can be able to process. What are the measures are we taking? The ministry, as I have indicated, lifted the ban on exportation of raw macadamia, which has been imposed for the period of 2nd November to 2023 to 3rd November 2024. The ban was imposed to facilitate clearing of the backlog of macadamia, what was not in shell, through export. This translated to price recovery from the previous lows of 30 shillings last year to an average of 80 average last year, bed of last year. And these prices have increased to 120 by now. The ministry, through the Agriculture Food Authority, has undertaken intense sensitization of growers of the need to form associations and cooperatives. Because one of the other areas which we are finding is that macadamia farmers are not organized into groups or cooperatives, and they are being exploited by brokers. Brokers take the big role. So we would like to mobilize farmers into cooperatives and associations so that they can be able to market in an organized manner. The ministry had issued a ban on harvesting of macadamia because we also noted that some of the unscrupulous brokers and farmers were harvesting immature nuts. And this, they were trying to sell in the market, and some of them for export. And this was making Kenyan macadamia to look, the quality to go down. So they agreed that we need to impose what we call a ban, a period where you cannot harvest until the nuts are mature. The government is also in the process of developing mature nuts grading guidelines so that farmers can earn optimum prices from good grades. There is no grading system. They say grade 1 and 2, but we would like to have a guidelines on how that can be done. The ministry has also developed marketing strategy to guide domestic market expansion for macadamia nuts. And the ministry, through Agriculture Food Authority, regulator, is creating stakeholder engagement platforms to facilitate buyer-seller negotiations for competitive price discovery of macadamia value chains. So we are doing various measures to make sure that farmers get the maximum out of the macadamia. Then number 3 is why we have not, as mandated by Section 44 of the 40 of the Crops Act, yes, is to be formulated, and they expected implemented to protect the farmers and scrupulous breeders. As I have indicated, the response is that the ministry have formulated already the regulations anchored on Section 40 of the Crops Act 2013, which addresses marketing as various subsections. We have quoted the subsections. They are 40A, 40R, 40S. So there are already regulations which have been formulated. And those regulations addresses various aspects of marketing. For instance, they provide for rising of quality planting material, arising from quality planting material, making sure that we have quality planting materials. Regulation 22 also provides for contracting, signing, and between growers and dealers so that we manage the marketing. Another regulation provides for harvesting and the maturity of macadamia nuts. Another regulation, development of traceability system so that we can be able to trace where the macadamia is coming from. So we have an large array of regulations which have been formulated to make sure that we streamline the marketing and pricing and management of the macadamia market industry. With some of them even providing for sampling and compliance with standards which support production of quality and which will consistently be boosting prices. In general, I would say we have made all the efforts, most of the efforts to make sure that we have regulations to make sure that that sector, which is actually coming up very well, we have order so that we are not left to the whims of traders and farmers are left vulnerable. So that is what I can say. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Ngui. You have a follow-up? Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the CS has considered that the lifting of the ban for importation of the raw macadamia mean the price to shoot from as low as 30 shillings to 80 for exportation of raw macadamia, from as low as 30 to 80 and eventually 120. Why would you want to impose a ban on export if the prices will decline for the farmers? Please clarify that. The ban not to harvest macadamia between 3rd November 2024 and 1st March 2025. What informed this ban between this period? And this ban also has a force of law. Where is it anchored in law? Secondly, macadamia has different varieties. There are some varieties of macadamia that usually produce, or actually they are usually producing macadamia, those varieties, the entire year, depending on the variety. Where do these fall under this ban? There are also ecological and climatic conditions that determine when macadamia would be ready for harvesting. The entire country is now stuck, that you cannot, you can't harvest any macadamia. And if this is the time farmers are getting buyers, and to prevent glut, because the moment you open on 3rd, in March, then there will be glut in the entire country and macadamia will fall down. Why don't we allow free harvesting of macadamia, selling, so that farmers can have money the entire year? Yeah, and if the buyer is comfortable with buying macadamia which is not even ready, what is your problem? If my buyer can buy macadamia, even if it is not very, whatever you are calling physiological mature, the person who is consuming the macadamia is the buyer. And if that person can buy, why are you limiting me to sell macadamia? And why are you limiting that buyer who would want, even if you don't want to, you want to buy and go and keep, that is your problem. So please explain on this, because farmers are suffering. Geshogo farmers, even today, they called me. There is a problem and they want to sell the macadamia. They want to put money into their pockets the way you told them.
Okay, maybe give another follow-up to Honorable Ngui and then you can answer.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. The CS made reference to regulations on macadamia. I just want to confirm, have these regulations been gazetted and tabled in Parliament within the statutory timelines as expected? And secondly, can you assure the government, the country, that you have sealed all loopholes since you are a new CS for the possible production or sale of fake fertilizer?
Honorable Timothy Toroitich. Try to give the poor have an opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now, CS, you have attributed some of the challenges facing the academia sector to regulations. You've said that there is a gap in terms of legislation, and you've said that you're in the process of formulating regulations, which of course will streamline the issue of marketing and pricing. Now, if you have recognized that as a challenge, and you have said you are formulating the regulations, how far are the said formulated regulations? Are they before the committee or not yet? Thank you, Chair. Honorable Speaker.
Okay, the Honorable Member for South Imenti. Member for South Imenti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I will start by congratulating the CS and the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock at large for the role they are playing to develop agriculture. My question is direct. I would like the CS to tell us what action are they taking to make sure that there's an increase in production, since if we have increased production, it means that the prices or export market can be expanded. Madam Speaker, I would also like the CS to tell us what role they are playing in validation of macadamia, since we can find macadamia in the world market. Finally, Mr. CS, the issue of Marimba campus is taking too long. I'm convinced the process is still on. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Zanzam.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi napenda kumuuliza waziri, na hii ndio swali haswa ambayo imenileta hapa bungeni leo. Mheshimiwa Waziri, ilikuwa imepitishwa katika bunge hili zile factory ya korosho iwezi kufufuliwa ifanye kazi, lakini Mheshimiwa Waziri, niko katika kamati ya implementation, tuliweza kuwa kule Pwani, tukawa tunategemea waziri wa kilimo aweze kufika kule ili aweze kutoa utatuzi wa shida hizi. Mheshimiwa Waziri, watu 4,000 walikuwa wanafanya kazi katika hizi factory na wengine ambao wanategemea watu 50,000 katika huu ukulima wa cashew nut. Lakini mpaka sasa, licha ya kuwa imepewa mtu ambaye ni mtu private ambaye anafanya shughuli hizi, Mheshimiwa Waziri, mpaka sasa hatujaona manufaa yoyote ya ukulima ndani ya kaunti za Pwani, Mheshimiwa Waziri. Na Mheshimiwa Waziri, mimi nasikia uchungu nikisikia jumba hili linazungumzia juu ya kahawa vile inavyostawi, majani na ukulima mwingine. Lakini Pwani sisi tumesaulika sana, Mheshimiwa Waziri, ndio maana tuliwahitaji sana wakati huo tukienda kutembelea ule mtambo ambao umechukuliwa na private investor, lakini pia hatukuruhusiwa kuingia ndani. Na mswada huu uliletwa hapa na Mheshimiwa Owen Baya, ikawa imepitishwa kuwa ifufuliwe factory ya cashew nut ama ya korosho kule Pwani, lakini mpaka sasa hatujaona kitu chochote. Tukiangalia pia ukulima wa nazi umedorora, umerudi chini. Ile port ni port yetu ndani ya Mombasa, lakini inaingiza nazi kutoka nje, inaingiza korosho kutoka nje, wakati wakulima wetu wa Pwani wanahangaika, wanabobea kwenye, tuseme wameishiwa kabisa, wamekuwa maskini na miti ya korosho iko. Mheshimiwa Waziri, Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa Mheshimiwa Waziri aweze kunipa yakini. Najua hakuwepo, ilikuwa kwa yule mwenzake, lakini yeye anafanya mikakati gani kuhakikisha kuwa factory ya korosho inafufuliwa kama tulivyopitishwa katika bunge hili. Mmea wa maembe ndani ya Mombasa unazinduliwa, unainuka vizuri, na nazi pia, nazi zetu pia zinafufuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nasikia uchungu nikiona wenzangu wazungumza makamedia bei imeshuka chini, wakati ambapo korosho, maskini ya Mungu, hata hatuna mahali tunaonekana. Na ndio nilisikia uchungu hata waziri wa elimu akitoka, kwa sababu nilitaka kumuuliza zile nafasi alitoa za kazi. Mombasa tulipata 6 kutoka kwa 1056. Jamani, tuko broad based government sahihi, na tunataka tuone matunda, ili za sisi tukisimama kwenye majukwaa tumwambie rais na tuambie wananchi rais amefanya. Lakini tunataka tuone waziri, na nyinyi ndio rais ameweka kwenye mikono yenu, muweze kumsaidia kazi. Akija kule nje aseme hapa nimefanya hiki, nimefanya hiki, lakini mkimwangusha atapata shida kule mashinani. Kwa hiyo mimi naombea kaunti za Pwani mkorosho uweze kufufuliwa. Asante sana.
Okay, waziri. Let him answer because there are quite a few.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, is the issue about macadamia, about export versus local. When you look at when we export nut, we call it nut in shell. That is nut. You export the whole nut. And what is happening is that one of the greatest government policy is value addition, and we must agree on that. And when we export nut in shell, we are losing in terms of value addition. And we have about 38 factories, processing factories in Kenya, who cannot even find, they are operating at 20%, 30%. They cannot even find macadamia. So we are asking ourselves, why should we give macadamia when we can be able to add value to macadamia in the country? So one of the major concerns, and one of them which informs us when we are making that decision, is one, we want to make value addition. Yeah.
What's your point of information?
Thank you. With tremendous respect, yes, we have those processing companies in Kenya. But the CS has just indicated they are in the process of trying to organize farmers to form cooperatives. But there's none of those factories is owned by farmers. These are individual business people, and that is where the problem is, because they want to take advantage.
What's your question? The question is?
The issue of value addition, yes, but why don't you allow farmers to sell the way they are selling, as you organize them to form cooperative societies and then have their own factories so that they can reap the benefits of their sweat? Otherwise, they are being exploited by local cartels. And how about if the prices will be down in that March? Unless you tell us that the price will be over 120 as it is now, the way they are selling, then we can buy your argument. But if these cartels just want to have farmers produce and then they exploit them, we will not accept that, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Waziri.
Okay, much we have had, but I would say that also being investors in Kenya, individuals are allowed by, it's business, normal business. I think we cannot criminalize the people who are investing in this country. So what we are also agreeing with the processors is that while we would like you to add value, we also guarantee a minimum price for the farmer. That is what we are saying, and that's what we have agreed, and we are going to give a minimum price which they have to buy on, and if they regulate on that, then we open it up. Yes, when you open up.
I think allow him, the minister, to.
Yes. The other issue is the ban on harvesting. This is an issue because if you even compare this is what will happen in avocado. When the nuts go out there, they don't belong to an individual farmer, they belong to Kenya. And when they are substandard, their quality is questionable, then it becomes an issue. And the ban is just to make sure that when you open the harvest, most of them, 90% of the nuts can be harvested as mature. But when you allow no more harvesting, continuous harvesting, it becomes an issue because quality becomes compromised and there is issues when it is being exported out there. Fake fertilizer. I would like to confirm to the member and make sure that this time around, we are determined that there will be no fake fertilizer in Kenya. That we can give. We have put all the measures. We have put teams to look at all aspects of fertilizer procurement. And so far, this time, we have distributed fertilizer for the short range season, and there have been no incidents. And it is going to happen for the same for the coming rains. We have assured the country that come January, we will have all the fertilizers in the country for the next season. And we are sure it will be fake, it will not be fake, it will be quality fertilizer. It will not be fake. The Gazette note, the rules, I'm being told that the rules, those rules are where the crops, through the crops and nut oil regulations 2020 are done for publication for allow for public participation. So we have already